What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, I apologize for my absence this week, but just a lot been going on, guys. So haven't had a whole lot of time to spend time editing the videos. Not so much filming them. It's pulling information, giving the supporting stats, putting in the edits. That kind of stuff takes some time. So I decided I'd sit down, grab me a bottle of Monkey Shoulder, and let's do a live stream and talk about some camp battles, guys. I mean, spend about an hour or so tonight. Let's discuss some of these upcoming camp battles and who we think might come out on top here. So, judging from the thumbnail, you can kind of guess one of the big areas, because I think you can take this conversation in many ways. I really do. I think you can easily talk about what's going on now at safety between Anthony Harris, Jaquiski Tartt, Marcus Epps, Kevon Wallace. You know, you got some guys back there, some guys that you spent draftable assets on. You got another guy that's an ascending player. You get another guy in Tartt who's probably the most experienced and talented guy if you judge them. You know, I guess you can make the case that Epps now at this point in his career is probably the more talented of them, athletically gifted, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, Tartt's a very good football player. Then you got Anthony Harris, who's kind of the locker room guy, the guy who understands Gannon's system, the trustworthy guy that will be exactly where you want him to be, all that kind of stuff, right? So the defense has a lot of fascinating aspects talking about camp battles and how things are going to fall out. And I put the thumbnail the way I put the thumbnail because, boy, T.J. Edwards is a really good football player. He really is. Underrated. One of the most underrated guys on this team. And I thought it was a huge mistake last year that they waited so long to involve him a little bit more in the football games, right? Everything, in terms of scalability here, no doubt about it. But nonetheless, like T.J. Edwards was way too good to have been buried the way he was buried last year. And you got a guy like Nakobe Dean that you drafted in the third round. Being a third round pick, the expectations are a little bit, they're manageable, if you will, for a third round pick. But nonetheless, most of us who are pretty big college football fans and who have watched Nakobe Dean play for the last couple of years, we realize the type of talent that young man is. This linebacker room is stacked. Look at the will. We're only really talking about the Mike, and there's still the aspect that you can use Nakobe Dean as a will linebacker and kind of like a run defense kind of package here with T.J. Edwards as your Mike. But talking about traditional will, early down will play, if you will, or whatever, will linebacker. Kyzir White, converted safety. I know he played more of that roving kind of star role at West Virginia when he was a safety there. So, I mean, he's a box safety, but he's been converted into a will linebacker in the NFL. And he's a guy that's not huge. He's not a big dude. And a lot of you guys that sign up for my email list, you guys know that part of the packet I put together for the free agency had Kyzir White talked about quite highly. He was one of those 5 players I listed in that pamphlet to where I talked about, I thought he was going to be a great fit for Philadelphia. I really did. I thought that Kyzir White, although he's a little undersized, for a dude who's undersized, Kyzir White really defends the run well. He plays the run very well. He does have some ability to be used as a pass rusher. I'm not going to say that's what he spent most of his time doing with the Chargers. That wasn't really his role, but when he was afforded the opportunity to actually rush the passer, he did a pretty good job. He's a coverage specialist. Guy can cover. He's a really, really good coverage guy. I mean, look who's behind him, guys. Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor can play. We all know that Davion Taylor he's a football player. Injuries, man. Davion Taylor's biggest struggle, in the league has been injuries. We just can't keep him healthy. And that's really been the issue here, is that when the young man's been on the field, regardless, I know his rookie year, there were some games I watched him play too, guys, where I felt he looked a little lost out there, to be quite honest. But he did shine a little bit on special teams his rookie season, his rookie year. And then last year when he finally, got his chance, early camp struggles because of injuries. He was a guy that was being featured a lot in training camp. It looked like he had a very defined role. It looked like Jonathan Gannon really, really wanted to use him, but he got injured. Then he kind of fell wayside in the rotation. And then it took all the way into that midseason change to where Gannon started playing Edwards and Davion Taylor, that we saw something there. I mean, there was a spark that was provided. Davion Taylor, was really diagnosing and reading and going backside pursuit and doing a very good job as a will linebacker. That will linebacker spot is unique in the fact that, you're really chasing plays backside. So you need to be fast. or you're scraping over the top. You're using that scrape technique and you're gap filling. So you need those defensive linemen to keep you clean, or you better be, have that courage to really go up and fill a gap when a guy misses a gap responsibility. And I thought that we saw sometimes, as great as Alex Singleton was, and he was a tackling machine, and I thought he was a really decent will linebacker himself, I thought you saw a big difference when Davion was in there. I think Davion had a little bit more of that ability to scrape over and actually defend the run. Although Davion missed tackles, if I'm being fair, guys. I don't lie about things. I tell you exactly what the analytics and what the film says. And Davion, he went for it, but in going for it, sometimes he played a little with some reckless abandon, and he did miss some tackles, to be quite honest, that should have been made. With that said, I like all four of these guys a lot. I really do. I'm a big fan of TJ Edwards. I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the league right now. I think he's so much better than what people realize. Nakobe Dean, to me, looks like the guy. He looks like he's going to be the guy of this defense eventually. He's going to be that green dot of play calling probably. He's going to be that guy that's going to be the off-ball linebacker that's going to – I'm sorry, not – yeah, off-ball linebacker that's going to do some things. My bad, guys. And then, you look at a guy like Davion Taylor. Injuries concern me. He's got to be in games. But the talent's there. Davion Taylor has the talent. You guys know I was high on Kaiser White. And we haven't even talked about Sean Bradley, who I do think Sean Bradley's not exactly like a guy you're projecting to be a starter. But I think Sean Bradley has the ability to be a quality backup in the league. I think he's a decent player. I think he's a very good special teams player. Suffered a shoulder injury from a freak kind of car accident thing late in the year that kind of took him out. But, Antonio, TJ Edwards might be the best coverage linebacker that no one talks about. I'm just going to be honest with you. He's not a great man-to-man guy. The dude's great in zone. He's a converted safety himself. He plays some safety coming out of high school and stuff. TJ Edwards is really good in coverage. It's kind of one of his underrated things. He's just not a fluid mover. So there are times where there's just more athletically gifted tight ends that can take advantage of him, but he's way better in coverage than people realize. He's a pretty good linebacker, man. He's pretty solid all the way around. It's just that he's an undrafted rookie free agent. He didn't have the greatest testing numbers, in terms of the 40 times, but if you looked at his lateral drills were quite good, his sideline to sideline ability to move. And he's a, fierce run defender. Very good zone coverage defender. He's one of the best zone coverage linebackers we've had in Philly in a while, to be quite honest. And that's not overhyping him. That's telling you the truth. He's very good in zone. Just to kind of make this point, guys, PFF has a metrics where I was looking at it earlier today. And they go over just complete defense, right? They're defensive grades. And I know when you use gradings, guys, we can make the argument that gradings are they're opinionated, right? There's some subjectivity to a grading. But for the purpose of the conversation, it's not me grading them. It's not you grading them. It's an impartial party to the conversation, giving the grades. Just to illustrate the point about TJ Edwards, guys. TJ Edwards, when you look at run defense and overall defense, right? If you look at these run defenders, so I look at a guy like Alexander Johnson, who's graded as a 90 in run defense, right? I look at a guy like Pete Warner, who's graded a 91, Darius Leonard, who's graded a 91, Joe Thomas, who's graded an 85, right? Mekhi Kaiser from Denver was graded a 74.7. Demario Davis was graded a 78. J.O.K. was graded a 78.7. TJ Edwards graded a 76.6, and Matt Wilson was graded a 73.5. These are all really, Devondre Campbell, 81.5. These guys were all graded really high in run defense. The difference is when you look at it just beyond run defense, you look at coverage linebackers. The only guys who played more in coverage than TJ Edwards in the top 20 of defensive grading for linebackers was simply Devondre Campbell was 1. Fred Warner was 2. Darius Leonard was 3. Demario Davis was 4. And then TJ Edwards was the 5th most utilized guy in coverage out of that list of dudes. Man, he's a lot better than people understand. TJ Edwards is a good football player. He's a really good player, man. He's highly underrated. Highly underrated for what he is. And it's a shame the coaching staff took so long to get him right last year. What's up, Geraldo? How you doing, man? Everything's good, guys. Everything's good. Just a lot of work. I got a lot of things I had to do this summer, so I'm trying to, put in some extra hours. I'm trying to make some upgrades to some of the audio equipment stuff, things like that. And, that's going to require a little bit of effort on my part to do that, guys. So that's why I'm kind of pushing it a little harder during the summer, because I know views will generally be down So this is a good time to try to build that money in other ways to kind of make the upgrades that we want to make here for the studio. What's good, Vincent? How you doing, buddy? So what's good? What's going on, Coach? I do see Taylor Edwards, TJ Edwards, being Mike, and you think they'll play the Nakobe Dean as a will. Vincent said, does Dean have the speed and range to play the mic? Yeah, Dean's playing. It's more instinct at the mic than anything. So yeah, he's instinctual. He can play it. I would be more concerned with his speed, that initial get off, and I have to look at the numbers, see how he stacks, to be honest, because I think that's more important when you're going backside pursuit and when you're scraping over the top, right? That's where, there has to be an element of athleticism there. Vincent said White, Dean, Taylor is another look for speed. Yeah, this linebacking core is a lot better. It's one of the best linebacking cores we've put together in quite some time. At least on paper. I mean, we got to see how they all gel together, of course. But on paper, this is one of the more interesting groups that we've had an opportunity to watch. What's up, NFC East Beast? You keep changing your name so much, man. I can barely keep up with you. There's my gorilla coach. How's it going, Steve? I'm doing good, guys. I'm doing good. What's up, iShine? How you doing, man? Yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk for a little bit tonight, guys. I want to talk about some of these camp battles. I think there's going to be some interesting camp battles this year. I really do. I agree, Antonio. Antonio said availability for Taylor. He said Taylor's my guy, but what can you do if the guy's not if he's not healthy and he's not available? You're right, Antonio. That's the main problem here. Is that I made that. I don't know if you saw that post I made, Antonio, on Twitter, where I was talking about the linebacking core, and I had how I perceived it to be. Kaiser White. Then I had Nakobe Dean, and then I had Hassan Riddick. And I was talking, I did the whole retweet, all that kind of stuff, comment. But even in the post, if you looked at the top of the post, I said, Antonio, I'm not confident in projecting this linebacking core because this could be one of those situations that whoever takes the first snap and is deemed the starter, that may not be the guy who gets the majority of snaps. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be a little weary of putting certain things out there because one could theoretically be the starter. He could take the first snap of the game. But nonetheless, that person may not play as much as people might perceive. So it's a little tricky. What's up, Philly Trez? How you doing, bro? He says, does Jordan Davis have a chance to be the number 2 defensive tackle? That's a really tough question. And it's probably going to have a lot to do, Philly Trez, with whatever Gannon does with the defensive line, how they align them. So here's the problem I see this as, right, is that we all know that Jordan Davis can 2-gap. He's got the body frame, he's got the size, he's got experience 2-gapping. We know he can 2-gap, so we know he can play a nose and a 34, right? He can play a 3 technique, he can play a 5 technique technically, or a 4-eye, whatever. But not every 30 front. 30 front's just a way of saying 3 down linemen, so 34 front, guys. Not every 30 front requires you to 2-gap at each single alignment along the defensive line. So if you're in an eagle front, which is technically a 30 front, 3 down linemen, so you got a nose tackle who could technically be 2-gapping, and then you got 2 4-eyes. They could technically be 1-gapping or gap and a half, where they're kind of sliding. They're sliding along the hip of that guard and kind of, there's a slight hesitation, but it's not a full 2-gap hesitation to it. So there's different techniques that can be played with different leverage there. And that's where it gets difficult, Philly Trez, to project, because I don't even, I think that they're going to play a lot of 30 front this year, but we thought that last year too. We thought there was going to be a lot of 3 down lineman stuff, and we didn't see it. So it's kind of tough to project it, man. It's definitely a little tough to project that. But I do think that Jordan Davis, he's going to see some significant playing time. Whether he's technically a starter or not, he's going to play quite a bit, because I think he's a big component of our ability to stop the run with 3 or 4 guys. I think that's what Gannon wants to do. He wants to be able to stop that run without having to overcommit players to the box, so that way he can drop more guys in coverage and do more deception and more disguise. That's me judging what he said in press conferences, not necessarily what he's shown us on film yet, but just judging kind of what he said in press conferences. That's what I think he wants to do. Who knows? Until we can see film of it. Hard to say. Dante, what's good, man? How you doing, bro? What's up, Gate? Love the pillow. Hey, man, I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad you like it. I spent some time trying to put in different guys in there and trying to link some of us that are a little bit older. You know what I'm saying, Dante? Some of us who might know some names that, you know, and I still, you know, I still left out like the Harold Carmichaels. I still left out some guys, you know, Wilbert Montgomery's. You know, there's a lot of guys that could have been, in, you know, involved in the pillow, but it's difficult to get them all in there, you know, to fit everybody in. He said, bye, guys. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Sorry, guys. It's jumping on me a little bit. What's up, Joseph? How you doing, man? He said, how you doing, Gates? Just got off of work. Worked 18 hours today. Bro, I put in 12, and I got me a little bit of scotch to kind of unwind to come to talk to you guys a little bit because, hey, bro. Yeah, working can, yeah, man. Wear you down, bro. Take care of yourself, man. Take care of yourself. JC, what's good, buddy? He says, how often do you think they will rotate these linebackers? That's an excellent question, JC, which is situationally, what is the guy's roles? You know what I mean? Like TJ Edwards is an easy one to figure out, right? He's a run defender. He's a really good zone kind of coverage guy, but more than anything, I think to Antonio's point is that TJ Edwards he's a run defender. That's what he, you know, makes his bread. That's what he makes it on. But I don't know the role of each guy. Kyzir White, I think you could make an argument is probably going to be viewed as more of that coverage guy. He's the guy that you're going to drop back there as a coverage linebacker, a dude that might be able to man up because he's got the athleticism there to man up. But then you get into the situation where you get like a guy like Davion Taylor. What is Davion Taylor's role? I'm not sure. He's a guy they spent a third-round draft pick on. When he's been on the field, you know, last season, I thought he showed something, but I'm not sure of the role yet, right? Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean seems to be like a fierce run defender. You know, he's a little bit of an undersized guy, but very instinctual. He knows how to play off of, you know, his defensive lineman and how to step up into the gaps and make plays. Will we see it translate as much in the pro game in coverage? You know, that's the part I'm not really sure of yet, JC. We'll have to see. So, yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question, and I think it's going to depend upon how they view these guys in terms of situational football. That's a tough one. Like, you know, Nakobe Dean, he's not a, you know, as what I kept saying in that Micah Parsons video when we were talking about it, I said, I don't view him in a Micah Parsons type role. I don't think they're the same type of player. I think these are two different types of players. But in saying that, would you still use them, you know, 50 to 100 snaps a year in a pass rush situation? Could Jonathan Gannon get creative and use him off the edge as a pass rusher? Might they do some stuff like that with, you know, with Nakobe Dean? Will they use him on timing blitzes from the mic or the will position, you know, something like that? I mean, that would be something interesting to see how they perceive the role for him. Something I can't really answer yet, guys. Joseph say, hit that like button, man. He said, I just got my Dean jersey. Hey, that's pretty cool, man. What's up, Juan? How you doing, man? He says, what's up, brother? Big fan of your channel. Fly Eagles Fly, baby. Shout out to you from ABQ, New Mexico. Hey, what's good, bro? I got a friend I was in the military with that he lives in New Mexico. He's a reservation police officer. My buddy Black Goat. Yeah, shout out, man. Yeah, you're coming long ways away, bro, from New Mexico, man. We appreciate you, bro. Antonio said, yes, I get it. They have crazy talent in that linebacker room. That feels weird to type. Doesn't it, Antonio, right? Because we're normally, you know, I did a video last year where I talked about how little, you know, we had committed financially to the linebackers. I mean, we were like 31st or 32nd in the league in terms of the percentage of cap spent towards the linebacking room. It's so, you know, it's so weird. It's so weird to say these things now just because it's been a long time, man. It's been a really long time since we've been able to have this kind of excitement around that group to where I really don't feel, you know, like I said, Antonio, I don't feel confident projecting every guy's role yet. I mean, there's a couple of guys I think we have a good feel for what the role will be. I think Kyzir White is kind of a coverage specialist. I do think that TJ Edwards is a run defender, you know, kind of that's his specialization. But some of these other guys, you know, it's kind of difficult to get a full grasp on how Jonathan Gannon's going to use them, the role. Yeah, 100%, man. Dante said, what's your ideal snap percentage for linebackers per game? See, that's a great one because is anyone going to have that play calling dot, or is that going to be an Anthony Harris role? You know what I mean? Like who has to, and when we say play calling, guys, understand it's not like they're calling the plays. They're just relaying the play call and getting guys in the proper alignment. So if that's going to be a Nakobe Dean or a TJ Edwards, those guys have to be on the field pretty much every snap as long as health holds. If that doesn't happen and you have it in the secondary, that's where I think you got to be real particular about, who's your early down guys. Is it going to be early down? Will it be in the Kobe Dean at the will? And will it be, Mike TJ Edwards, or will it be TJ Edwards at the Mike early in the season and then the Kobe Dean working his way in as the season goes? And then your will linebackers, Kaiser White or Davion Taylor, whoever wins early and downs. It's tough to say, man. These guys are really good. It's a tough decision to say without seeing the pads on and how these guys are playing in the system. What's up, Philly Fan D? How you doing, man? He said, what's up, Gate? I agree. Doesn't matter if Jordan is the starter. We'll get significant snaps. Yeah, that's a tough one, right, when you get that, man. Joseph said, let me get that pillow. It's on the website, guys. If you go to cerebralfootball.com, so cerebralfootball.com, and then go to shop, you'll see a button that says shop, and you'll see the pillow there, guys. He said, I'm drinking. Hey, man. Same thing, Joseph. The 803 Hitman, what's good, bro? He said, Gates, what's up, my guy? Who's your top 5 under 25 years of age, since everyone is on these lists? Are we talking league-wide? 803, we're talking just the Eagles. Because on the Eagles, I think you have to put Jalen Hurts on that list. You have to put A.J. Brown on that list. Devontae Smith has to be on that list. Ooh, defensively, who do we have? I got to see who is exactly under that age grouping defensively. I think Jordan Davis is going to be a player, so I'd probably put Jordan Davis on that list. I don't know the full linebacking core, and I don't know if I'd put anyone in the secondary per se, because those guys aren't really – they've got a lot of guys under 25, but I don't think that they're prominent. But Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, definitely. Landon Dickerson, and probably Jordan Davis, I would say, on the Eagles are the guys that come to my mind right now. And I don't even know if Jordan Mailata would fit that under 25. I haven't even had a chance to look, because obviously Jordan Mailata would have to be in consideration for that too. Philly Fan D said, Scotch is scary for me on a Thursday night, but got my Guinness. I hear you, bro. I hear you. Dean's winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, you think? Hey, I'm all for it, man. I'll take it. The 803 said, I'm working and watching, my bad. Oh, it's all good, bro. It's all good, man. Oh, quarterbacks. Top 5 under 25 quarterbacks. See, that's the thing. Some of these guys are older rookies and people understand. That's the problem. But, Joe Burrow is going to be a good player. He already is a good player. He's not that he's going to be. He is one. I know Justin Herbert's a little controversial for some people, but I think Justin Herbert can do it, bro. I think he's going to be, with the right team around him, the right coaching. I think the coaching is more of the issue there right now. I like Staley and everything. I'm not taking shots, but, it's more than just a head coach. I'm saying everybody's got to be in coordination with one another. And I question if they have that yet. But I think that team, man, they're set to be pretty good. That entire division is going to be really good, the AFC West. So I'd put Herbert on that list. I'll give you another controversial one because he hasn't done anything to warrant the ranking yet, but I know physical talent. And, he missed some throws last year that were quite concerning, but I heard he had an issue with one of his fingers. He had an injury there, and that was causing a lot of clasping on the football. But Trey Lance, man, I got a feeling Trey Lance is going to emerge as one of those guys. Trying to think who would all be under that age. That's the issue here. Is who's under the age. I'd have to look at the list, 803. I definitely think Jalen Hurts, if I extended out to top 10 guys, like who's the future of the league, I think Jalen Hurts is in the conversation. I think he's going to be one of those future guys in this league. I think it's going to come together this season. I can't remember. I think Lamar Jackson is hovering right around that age group, isn't he? So, Lamar would have to be on that list. And that's the thing, is, are we talking about purely throwing the football, or are we just talking about the ability to lead a football team and to do something as the quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's different ways of looking at it. What's up, Jerry? How you doing, bro? He said, did anyone else see that PFS has Alex Singleton, my bad, guys, ranked as the number 4 linebacker? I didn't see that, man. I didn't see that. He said that's hilarious. Exactly, Philly Fan D. Jerry said, "Yep, I agreed. I need to wonder why he was never even close to that for the Birds." Yeah. Joseph said, "I'm going to buy it." Appreciate you guys. Appreciate y'all, man. Maybe a scheme thing. Yeah, it's hard to say, guys, when it comes to like trying to figure out scheme adjustments and why certain guys. With Singleton, I think here's the thing: is like I made a video, Jerry, last season where I talked about the linebackers. I mean, there were times to where they weren't even moving their feet until the offensive lineman basically engaged them on the second level. And then I was talking to people who were saying like, yeah, Gate, you're breaking down the will linebacker. And the thing about the will linebacker position is in an under front, you have to understand, I had a few guys that played linebacker that were explaining it to me. They were like, look, when you play will linebacker in an under front, there's got to be a lot of communication between the 3 technique and that will linebacker, because you got to keep that will linebacker free. The dude shouldn't be reaching the second level on him, because he's got to scrape over the top of the defense. That's why he's hesitating a little bit. And there could be some issues with him processing fast enough to scrape over the top early in the season. But they also weren't keeping him clean. That 3 technique wasn't. And that's a communication thing. Like, he's got to know when you're shooting a gap and going for it, because he's got to fill that other gap responsibility. And I think there was definitely some things going on in that gap and a half system that Gannon was running in the underfront, to where when that 3 technique was going for it and was shooting the gaps, they just kind of went around them. And then now you got an offensive lineman up at the second level all over your linebackers. And we just didn't have guys that could stack and shed easily. You know what I mean? Outside of like TJ Edwards. And then when we saw Davion got in the game, TJ Edwards and Davion were a little better at that. But yeah, there was a lot of things schematically that's kind of difficult to break down with that. It was ridiculous. I hear you guys. I can hope. 3 Carmani, what's good, buddy? He said, who's going to start at safety? I'm okay. Look, I think all 3 of these guys are going to get playing time. I think Epps is going to get a lot of playing time. I think Tartt's going to get a lot of playing time. I think Ant Harris is going to get a lot of playing time. I don't know how it's going to work. My gut instinct tells me that your third safety is not going to be a guy who doesn't play special teams. And at the same time, how much do we really expect 2 30-year-old safeties in Anthony Harris and Jaquiski Tartt to play a ton of special teams? I'm not saying they won't play any. I'm not saying they would refuse to play it, but at 30 years old, not the most ideal situation for, like, in particular, punt coverage and kick coverage. You know what I mean? Punt return, kick return. Now, field goal, extra point blocking teams, stuff like that, sure. But, punt block, all that kind of stuff, maybe I could see. But, it's trying to weigh that. It's trying to weigh how these guys fit in terms of that. The problem is that Marcus Epps, while he's the youngest guy and he's pretty good at special teams, he's also an ascending player. It's a tough situation, 3 Carboni. That's a tough situation. I'm comfortable with however they work that rotation out between those 3 guys, because I trust those 3 guys to be really good in this system. I really do. I think they're going to be pretty good. And I'm wondering if they're going to play a little bit more big nickel, adding that third safety in there more than they did last year. That's what I'm wondering. Now, the problem is anytime you add a player to the rotation, you're taking a guy out. So if you play big nickel, is that removing, Maddox a few snaps a game? He just got an extension. He had a crazy good season last year. Hard to envision him losing snaps. You know what I mean? Is that taking away this talented linebacking core? These are, what I'm saying? This is where Gannon has to take these guys in camp. And you got talent at linebacker. You got dependable safeties. Your top 3 corners are pretty good. It's about blending it, man. He's got to find a way of blending it. And this could be a challenge, right? Because we got what we wanted. We got a lot of talent defensively now. Now you got to blend it and make it into something special. And that's like a really big deal in terms of the feel for how you're getting guys in games. We'll see, guys. I mean, I'm hopeful that we got enough guys to make plays no matter how they align us here. I think we're on the cusp of something special. What's up, Alexis? How you doing, man? He said, I love Kaiser White. I think he's an underrated signing. Yeah, I was pretty high on him, man. He might be our best linebacker by the end of the year. Great coverage skill, run stopping ability, and surprisingly instinctual for, former safety. Yeah, fearless. Fearless, man. He's fearless. Absolutely. Eagles 868. What's good, bro, man? He said, love the videos, bro. Great work. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all, man. NFC East B said, Mac Jones. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like top 10, sure. The only, like, Mac's a timing quarterback. Timing quarterbacks would be, I know people view this as an insult, but I don't mean it as an insult. Like Alex Smith is a timing quarterback. Tom Brady is a timing quarterback. So there's a big disparity between Alex Smith and Tom Brady, clearly, in terms of success, right? But timing quarterbacks are just guys that naturally get your offense into rhythm, right? You hear a lot of these guys that are former quarterbacks talk about it's the quarterback's responsibility to get the offense into rhythm. Well, guys like Mac Jones and guys like Alex Smith, and of course Tom Brady being the GOAT of this, those guys did a really good job of getting their offenses into rhythm. The problem with Mac Jones is he's not a dynamic athlete. He's a bit of a static athlete. And when the pocket breaks down, there can be problems there. And, you're really going to have to depend upon him to, in that limited athletic ability, when people bring extra guys in the box, to simply just be knowledgeable enough to beat it. He's got to get out of his hands quickly. So there's somewhat of a limitation there. So that's what makes like Mac Jones really difficult to project. There's always going to be deficiency somewhere. NFC East, because we can go with every quarterback, and if you break it down enough, there's a deficiency where growth has to happen. That's the difficulty with a young quarterback, and trying to rank them in terms of like how you see them in terms of like top 5, top 10. You know what I mean? At a certain point, it just comes down to gut instinct. Joseph said it's going to be hard for Herbert within that division. Whatever team has the best defense is going to win that division. Yeah, isn't it crazy to think that Kansas City could logically have the worst in terms of, I know they got Patrick Mahomes and it's always an advantage, but in terms of roster construction, top to bottom, they might legitimately be the worst roster in that division. And that's a good football team. That's a team that's still capable of winning a Super Bowl if it gets hot at the right time, clearly, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. NFC East said 55 pass, 45% run. Will it end up opposite stats with Hurts running out of passing plays? NFC East, it's hard to say what the percentages will be. I do think that they will ask him to run a little less than they did last year, but you can't make the mistake of taking away an advantage. You know what I mean? Like, you want to limit exposure. You don't want to get this young man hurt. And if you play that too much, it will get you hurt. You want him to do what he did this offseason, which is learn, go through the processes of getting this offense under control, getting those mental reps, playing the game before the game, things that Justin Arth and some of these guys, Max Brown, all these guys have talked about before, about how the really great quarterbacks play every situation and every scenario in their head from the game plan. They know what the game plan is going in, so they know what those play calls are likely going to be. So they run through every coverage, every situation that could happen, and how you're supposed to respond to it. Obviously, that takes a lot of mental reps and time to build that kind of ability here. And, that's what supposedly has been taking place this offseason. So there's got to be some element of Jalen getting us into rhythm. I think it's going to be there this season, but ultimately it's a gut instinct thing, NFC East Beast. I think my gut instinct tells me that, judging the approach he took this offseason, I can't judge OTAs like that. You know what I mean? Like, I saw, it looks like a shortened delivery motion from him. He's a little bit more tighter to the body. I did point out how he kept the front shoulder closed. That's a good sign. That's what you're supposed to do. A lot of young quarterbacks tend to open up over that center line. And when they come open, they open up completely. And that creates a elongated throwing motion. This happens a lot with high school quarterbacks going into college. Like, it's a big to-do with college, developmental programs to get these guys to stop doing that. We'll see. I mean, it's got to be done on the field. I think it's going to be there. I have faith that it's going to be there. Dante said, what 3 players are you nervous about taking a step back this year? Mine is Quez. I just have a feeling it's going to be Dallas, Brown and Smith. Oh, the Dallas, Brown and Smith show. Miles and Anthony Harris because of the corners. Miles Sanders is a tricky one because I think Kenneth Gainwell could potentially be an ascending player. I think he's a very, very good fit for the offense and what it wants to do. But Miles Sanders is not without talent. And there were portions when they brought Jalen Hurts in 2020 to where you could see that zone option with Miles Sanders, his ability to break away and hit you with a home run. It was dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, hard to say, man. Dante, that's a great question, man. It really is. Quez, I don't think is going to take a step back because of, and I think you're saying the same exact thing. It's not he's going to take a step back because of talent. There just might be a higher quantity of attempts going to the outside targets and Devontae Smith and an AJ Brown. And then you got to work, Dallas Goedert in there. I think he'll have a similar amount of attempts. It's just, can he capitalize on favorable coverage, right? Is Quez Watkins going to be that guy that teams just try to focus entirely too much on taking away the outside threats? And then you're still trying to keep an eye on Dallas Goedert, and all of a sudden, here goes Quez. So even if he has a slight reduction in attempts, can he turn it into special plays? Can he get you into the end zone because he's just such a good situation for the matchup? We'll see. I mean, Dante, I think he's talented, man, but I understand where you're coming from with it. Preach Facts, what's good, buddy? He says, do you think Jordan Davis will play the 3 technique or just nose? I think he's primarily going to play nose. Now, that could be as a 2-eye. That could be as a, zero shade. It could be as a true zero tech. Multiple ways. One tech, there's multiple ways of being technically a nose tech, which depends upon the alignment they want to play. Now, in saying that, Preach, Jonathan Gannon said he's not going to shy away from playing him as a 3 technique or even potentially as a 5 technique on jumbo packages. Who knows how much of that is lip service, Preach? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to say. But I do think there'll be a percentage of snaps. I just don't know. I don't know how much that'll be. I think that's something that you go to more and more as he becomes more familiar with the system and what he's being asked to do. Then you can start really playing him and flexing him all around the line of scrimmage. He's athletic, man. Preach. He's an athletic dude. I mean, for a big guy, he could definitely move. JC said, I believe Kaiser White plays some safety this year. Potentially. I could see that. Depending on the package, I mean, sometimes you're splitting hairs between what is a roving safety and what is a will linebacker. You know what I mean? There's some times where you're just kind of splitting hairs. We can label somebody as a linebacker, but in theory, the role and the technique they're being asked to play is not that much different from a roving safety. Philly fan said, I don't care about the numbers. Spread the wealth on offense. Hurts does that. It'll be a big step forward. Yeah, 100%, man. What's up, Dave? How you doing, bro? So my man Gates, what's happening, good brother? Check your IG messages. I am so sorry, Dave. I think you told me this on the last live stream. I just forgot to, man, because of work. I got you, bro. I apologize, Dave. One above all. What's good, man? How you doing, bro? One above all says, always say it's the Chargers' year to go far. I think this year I may finally be right. Yeah, I mean, they got an underrated team that could be quite good. Yeah, I agree with you. They got a team that could be a problem for people. Joseph said, maybe one above all. The whole entire division is really good. That's a stacked division. And no, guys, this is not sake. I'm not stacking whiskey on whiskey. It's just Mountain Valley water. Just chasing it with some water. To be honest with you guys, if you're not a big Scotch drinker, if Scotch is a very acquired taste. But if you're not a big Scotch drinker, this is pretty smooth. Monkey shoulder. It's fairly affordable, and it's quite smooth. So you put a little couple ice cubes in there, cool it down. It's pretty good. DJ said, is the Eagles defense going to be running a 34? They seem to have gotten the personnel for just that. DJ, that's a great question. I don't know. I felt like they might play more snaps in the 30 front last year than they did. Whatever caused them not be able to do that. I think it had to do with the our defensive linemen not being overly comfortable playing the scheme in the system. We talked about this a little bit earlier, DJ, where I talked about there's multiple ways of playing a 30 front, right? I mean, you can play Okie. Okie's what you see from back in the day, right? Where all three down linemen, two gap, and then you got your outside rush linebackers. You may send three guys, you may send four guys, you may send five guys. You might drop one of those rush linebackers out into the flats in the coverage, so forth and so forth, right? And you got those two inside linebackers, if you will. In a nickel, that becomes a 3-3-5 in a nickel. We'll see. It's really difficult to say because you can run an eagle front in a 30 front. An eagle front has a nose tackle, a nose guard, who two gaps, and then you got two four eyes, who generally speaking, they're one gap. That's what Brandon Staley ran with the Chargers and what he's ran prior with the Rams. So there's multiple ways of kind of accomplishing that, but I'm not really sure. They could play a 40 under again. They could play a 3-4 under. There's many ways of accomplishing that, guys. There really is. One Above All said, I have had the same thought. He's basically 10 pounds away from being a safety at his size. Yeah, I think I made a video where I said, they say he's 220, 225-ish. I mean, maybe with his shoulder pads on. With that said, man, he's tough against the run. You can see that safety instinct, man. He does not shy away from contact. I was quite shocked at first, as I want to say small because, a 220-pound athlete is not a small dude in reality. But in terms of linebackers, it's about 10 pounds under what you expect. You know what I mean? But he's tough. He's a tough-nosed guy, and he really plays the run well for an undersized linebacker. Philly Fan D said, it's amazing all the great players the Chargers has had for decades and still haven't gotten to a Super Bowl. Yeah. They got really close that one year with Phillip Rivers. That was like Philly Fan D, if you're around my age, you probably remember this. Back in like the early to mid 2000s, they had that run at the NFC Championship or AFC Championship game and couldn't quite, put it together. And then if you go back to the 90s, they made the Super Bowl appearance with I think was that Natron Means they had back then. That was forever ago. And the Bills. Sorry, guys, it's right clicking on me a little bit here. What position coach can really? Sorry, Dante. What position coach can really make for themselves this year? What position coach can really make a name for themselves this year? Great question. I got two guys in mind for external, three guys in mind for external positions. Okay. Let's not go with the obvious like the Gannon, obviously, but Steichen, obviously, those are obvious guys, but they're not position coaches. To be fair, they're coordinators. So I would say that Denard Wilson, the secondary coach, he's good. He's really good at developing players. I don't know how the league views him. I'm pretty high on Denard Wilson. I would love to retain him. Outside of Denard Wilson, I think that our linebacker coach, I do not remember the young man's name, but he's very young. He's like 27, 28-ish. Really young dude. This is a talented linebacking core. He's got a chance to really kind of make his name here. This is the chance to really start ascending, as a coach and really getting your name heard. These organizations aren't scared of hiring these young guys anymore. And the third guy I'll give you is offensively. Brian Johnson. If Jalen Hurts comes out here and just lights it up and looks like just an absolute dynamic playmaker to the point, I know we can argue about dynamic playmakers, but to the point of being like true consideration for being a league MVP type guy, Brian Johnson is going to be well known. He was already getting coaching gigs, head coaching gigs and views at the college level before he came to the Eagles. So if he comes in here as a quarterback coach and he lights it up, Jalen Hurts just really takes it up, bro. I mean, it's possible, Dante. Brian Johnson could be one of those names. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, man. I'll hit you back, bro. I apologize, man. Joseph say roots for the Bills in the AFC. Thank you, James. I appreciate it, man. It's still got a lot of stuff to do here. I don't want to turn the light on because even though it's a little dark behind me, like the light it's too much. I'm still working on getting a little bit of a better lighting situation. I want to be able to get lights where I can play with the volume of intensity of the light. I have one of those where I can do that. I need to have about 3 of them so I can have 3-point lighting set up here. Yeah, the 803 said it's very much so an acquired taste. Not a big Scotch fan, but I'm a whiskey head for sure. Yeah, I'm more of a bourbon guy, 803, to be honest with you. I like Four Roses, Bullet Bourbon's pretty good. I'll mess around with a few different types of bourbons. The Pappy Von Winkle and all that stuff, bro. I'd like to be able to afford that. I can't afford that stuff, though, man. It stuff's way too expensive for me. But, I'll mess around with some Glenlivet in the Scotch world. I'll mess around with some Monkey Shoulder in the Scotch world. I'm trying to build the taste buds a little bit, 803, but Scotch, yeah, it's very, I've had a lot of people recommend Scotches to me, and I've dropped a bag on a couple of bottles, and I didn't like them at all. Like, I kind of had to force, you get in that situation where, like, you're trying to force yourself into believing you like something, and you really don't. Like, I've been in that situation before. Joseph said, great fans in Buffalo. Philly Fan D said, my bad, man. Always felt pain from the fan base through the 90s, the Jim Kelly era. I was really young back then, but I remember it. So I do like Buchanan's. I hear you, man. James McBride right behind me with the Glenlivet. Exactly. Glenlivet's a very smooth Scotch. So Monkey Shoulder's kind of why I like it is if you're a bourbon drinker, it's got some caramel notes to it. It's got that caramel note to it, so it's not bad. Kind of reminds me, it just doesn't have the spice. You know how bourbon's got that bite on it from the spice? It just doesn't have that vanilla and that bite from the spice, really. Tomlinson, LaDainian Tomlinson. Yeah. Thank you, Tavern Mike. You're right. It was LaDainian back then, too. He said, what's up, Lit City? How you doing, bro? He said, I think Telvin Smith was at about 218-ish while in Jacksonville. Great player. Yeah. For you guys who don't know, Lit City played collegiately up in the Massachusetts, New England area. I'm sorry, Lit City. I don't remember exactly. I remember you told me one time before. But he played a little safety and linebacker. So he's a really good source for kind of figuring out the gaps in the fills and what these guys are supposed to do. He normally provides a lot of good intel for that kind of stuff, guys. We got to get Lit City on the channel one time to break down some of the linebacker play and what he thinks about the, how each guy's playing in the role and where he thinks there needs to be improvement. That'd be a good thing for you to kind of, do that kind of the way we do with Jalen and we do with Caleb to break down offensive line and defensive line, Lit City. I'd love to have you talk about the secondary and talk about the linebacking core, that back seven and coverage and kind of like how you see things. Tavern said Denard, the defensive back coach, could be up and coming. Yeah, I like Denard a lot. And if you listen to the players, man, they love him, man. Yeah, Natron Means and Junior Seau, yeah, man, they were, rest Junior Seau's soul, bro. But yeah, man, I remember Junior Seau, man. He was crazy, crazy good linebacker. That could be attributed to House. Appreciate you, Jeremiah. Philly Fan D said Maker's Mark, my favorite. Clever labeling with the rubber seal stuff they put on them. Lit City said Woodford Reserve. I've had Woodford Reserve too. I've tried the Jefferson Oceans before too. They had the one for Jefferson Ocean where they age it on a ship, and it's like it varies by the market, guys. It's like $70 out here. I'll be honest with you. If I'm being real, small batch Four Roses, a little better, or 12-year Four Roses, a lot better. It just depends on the bite, guys. How much of that vanilla and spice you can take. Because that's what really makes the bourbon, is that combination. Jeremiah said, what's essentially the difference in a 4-2-5 and a 3-3-5 personnel on the field? It's just both are form of nickel defenses. It's just, 4-2-5. Obviously, Jeremiah is a 40 front, 4D lineman. 3-3-5 is 3 down linemen. To be fair, Jeremiah, you can get into some nuance here, right? Because take a guy like Hassan Riddick and say you stand Hassan Riddick up like he's a joker, right? Or stand him up as a rush. Is he a joker or a rush linebacker? So are you in a 3-3-5 or a 4-2-5? You know what I mean? It's kind of like you start splitting hairs a little bit with the personnel we have. I would almost say it depends upon what's going on with the D linemen, those down linemen, like what's going on there. That's how you would have to distinguish it. And that's really particular to kind of what they're doing in terms of gap fill, how they're approaching gap fill, the alignment they have these guys in. It gets real particular with that kind of stuff. What's up, Eastside Monster? Said, just stopping by to show support. Love the channel, bro. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys, man. He said, my guy Jeremiah does not sleep. He's legit. He said, well, there's a lot of battles I'm trying this weekend. I love Jameson. Yeah, man. Jameson's pretty good. Jeremiah said, I figured JG has the opportunity to get real funky this year. That's my fear, Jeremiah, is like, there's a lot of talent, man. There's a ton of talent here. And how he fits everything in terms, like, we were just talking, Jeremiah, you and I, we were just talking about gap fills. We're talking about 30 fronts versus 40 fronts in the nickel line. You're playing nickel. So you're in a 3-3-5 or you're in a 4-2-5. Does it really matter? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much kind of going on there. And I'm really excited to get film on these guys, Jeremiah, so we can really start looking at what he's actually asking these dudes to do. So we can go from the speculation into the actual film of what he's doing in certain matchups. And that's going to be really cool, man. What's up, Raj? How you doing, man? Says, how are you doing, Steve? How many games you give them to gel, and what's your record for the season? Chevis. Okay, it's a good old scotch, but I'm older and stopped drinking, and I stopped drinking now. I've heard of Chevis. I've never had it. Man. Some of these, some scotch is a little, even bourbon. Like I said, the Poppy Von Winkles and stuff like that's a little rich for my blood. It's kind of hard to convince your wife that you need to drop $185 on a bottle of anything. But yeah, there's a few bottles that are really good. In terms of how long I think it'll take this team to gel, with limited camp schedule, that's the thing here. We got to go back to the practice schedules. I would expect it'll take them a couple of games to kind of really fall into a routine. I think you'll get through those durations of where you little by little, step by step, it's kind of coming together. I just hope that we're winning enough games that when we get to the end of the season, we can hit our stride. And then that's when you want to hit your stride going into the playoffs and be, ascending upwards into the right role here, Raj. That's what I'm hoping to see. In terms of our record, I've kind of stuck to, as long as it's double digits, I don't care. I would expect nothing less than 10 wins from this roster. Now, I do think that as good as this team is, it should be around 11, 12 wins. We should be able to easily win 11, 12 wins with this games with this roster. We appreciate you, Eastside, man. Be safe, man. Jeremiah said, I just had a nap a while ago. Dante said, when is the next breakdown video with the guys really interested in a D-line versus O-line competition and breakdown? I would love to get footage of them when they're in camp so that way we can really take a look at some stuff. Now, over the summer, I can take a look at, I can look at 2021's film and I can have a look at kind of like what's going on, give you some insight to what I see from these guys, things like that. But in terms of like outlook for 2022 until we get to camp, you know what I mean? Like, it's really hard. I'm hoping we get some footage of one-on-ones in camp. What's up, Doctor? He said, since Tart and Bradbury played together at Stanford, is it Stanford? I think it's Stanford, right? How much does that help? I mean, there's probably some communication and chemistry there. So maybe he kind of understands how he wants to play leverage-wise and stuff like that. They still got to adjust to how Gannon's system and scheme works. I'd have to see how similar that Stanford system is and comparison to, what they've done in the league. With that said, I mean, it always helps to have some familiarity there. You know what I mean? My guy Eyeshine said, I drink whiskey and cognac, Johnny Walker Blue with ginger ale, and Remy Martin, 1738 straight. Hey, I tried. I wasn't blue. I didn't try Johnny Walker's Blue Eyeshine, but I think I tried. I can't remember if it was black or red. It was one of those two. I tried one time. That was when I was young. Eyeshine. I didn't have taste buds back then. I was like real young. When you're stupid and you're young. I was in the military. Eyeshine. I was in Newport News, and there's that little piece of crap ABC store right by Warwick High School over there. And I went in there, and they had a bottle of Johnny Walker's, and I think it was like back then it was like $80, which today would be a lot of money for a bottle. You think of the inflation of what that would cost today. And I tried, and I hated it, man. It tasted like mop water to me. I didn't like it. Now, like I said, I didn't have very nuanced taste buds back then. I was just a kid. But yeah, man. I'm awake. Are you? What's good, buddy? He says, I'm at work and can't talk, but what's up, Gate? I appreciate you. I'm awake, man. Just hanging in here, bro. Just wanted to come on and talk to everybody for a little bit. 803 said, will Smash Mouth football ever become obsolete in the NFL? I think we were the closest thing to it last year. Yeah, I mean, there's Philly, Tennessee, and San Francisco in particular were very run dominant last year. Those three teams in particular. There is an argument that teams are actually reverting back towards two-back sets, but it's in the Shanahan, model of that 803, to where there's a lot of deception and disguise and movement. I think it depends upon how many A.J. Browns are you going to find through these drafts? How many Deebo Samuels? You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to have, the Curtis Samuels. You need to have those type of players to be able to execute that style of offense. So that's an excellent question, 803. I don't think we'll ever see the 90s. You know what I mean? The 90s and the early 2000s. I think that era is gone. The systems I ran in high school when I was playing, it's a lot different from what I coached. What I coached in the 2010s was far different from what I played in the late 90s and into the early 2000s. Completely different style of football. We asked our quarterbacks to do a heck of a lot more than I had to do. Jeremiah said, I'm looking forward to it, Steve. I'm of the mind that our personnel hampered his flexibilities. We'll see. Yeah, I had the same feeling that personnel probably held it back a little bit from what he wanted to do. At least that's what I'm hoping too, Jeremiah, because it was a very passive play call. It was Sanford, I believe they played that. Yeah, it was, guys. It was. I'm pretty sure it was Sanford. Yeah. What's up, JC? Yeah, 757. Yeah, I used to. When I was in the military, man, I lived in Newport News for a while, and I lived in Norfolk for a while. But yeah, man, we used to go to that little crappy ABC store right over by Warwick High School in Newport News. Jeremiah said, yeah, I'm a yak man myself. I can do whiskeys and vodkas, but I'm all about the yak. Y'all funny with that, man. Yeah, I'm not really a big Scotch drinker, to be honest with you. I'll get a bottle of it here and there. When I went in there tonight, they just didn't have, they had the usual stuff I get. They have my, I always drink Four Roses normally. That's kind of like my base stuff. But I didn't want to spend the money on Four Roses, because it's pretty much about the same amount that I spent on the Monkey Shoulder, to be honest with you. And Monkey Shoulder is kind of rare to get in North Carolina, to be honest with you guys. We don't get it a lot. So I was like, I want to try this. I've seen a lot of people talk about Monkey Shoulder, and it's pretty smooth. I'll give it this, man. Caramel notes without the vanilla, very smooth. If you're a bourbon drinker, you can easily move into Monkey Shoulder. This won't be a big put off for you at all. But I will say I'm not a big Scotch guy. I'm more of a bourbon guy. I will drink some just regular whiskeys. I've tried brandies. I've had a few people hit me up to try to get me to try some brandies. When brandy's good, it's really good. But, man, there's a lot of, what I'm saying? There's a lot of cheap brandy that just, hey, man, it'll get you there quick, bro. But, you know what I mean? It's kind of tough to push some of that stuff down. And I've had the same thing, man. I've had some people try to get me to drink some bourbons that, man, it's not good. Jeremiah said, I'm going to have to try because I like vanilla. Yeah, it's smooth, man. It's a smooth drink. I'll tell you that. And I went with a heavy pour on this guy. Matter of fact, I got a feeling this is not a lot of proof here. It's only 43. It's only 43% alcohol, so it's not a high proof at all. So it's pretty smooth, you know. I will say the only problem, guys, with getting something that's not a high proof is that if you're particular to wanting to taste the notes, you know, you want those notes, the higher the proof is going to help you bring out the flavor of those notes. So lower proof might be a little smoother, but you know what I mean? Like this is very dominant with the vanilla. That's the main thing. The vanilla and the like kind of caramel taste to it is what I can taste here. Philly Fan D said Four Roses is a drink that most restaurants serve. Yeah, I think it's for me, Four Roses is just like a good baseline one. I know it's decent, but it's not great. You know what I mean? Like I've certainly had a lot better. You know, Philly Fan D, I would love to have some Poppy Van Winkle or something like that. I ain't cash strong like that to be just whipping out Poppy Van Winkle on a live stream. But you know, it's definitely not the best I've ever had, but you know what I mean. My guy Einstein said, instant headaches in the morning, brandies, laugh out loud. Yeah, man, they sneak up on you a little bit, don't they? Yeah. I'll give you another one that I can't even smell it anymore. This stupid military mistake I made. This is before I met my wife. My wife was a student at ODU just before we met. But there was this little pizzeria and bar that was like right by the base and right by ODU in Norfolk. And I tried to pregame with a couple of my friends that we were in the military. So I actually, you know, if my dad's watching this, I apologize, Pops, but I snuck out a bottle of SoCo, Southern Comfort, for my dad. And it was like a huge holiday bottle too. And I took this holiday bottle and we went to like McDonald's. This is back when McDonald's said those huge, you know, cups. So we got those. You got some Dr. Pepper, and we poured like this whole bottle between two of us. We poured it into this, you know, this Dr. Pepper, man. And bro, we walked into a bar. We were pre-gaming, but we were too young to know that you don't split an entire bottle as a pregame. Like that's not pre-gaming. That's getting wasted. Well, SoCo is a slow creeper, guys. It crept up on me slow. And you know, we were in there and like, you know, guys they start, you know, buying shots. Everybody's trying to one up everybody on shots. And I'll tell you, I knew I was in trouble. We were ordering Bacardi 151. And the bartender slides me down Bacardi 151. And I throw it back. And I thought he cut me off. I thought he gave me water. I thought he cut me off. And the bartender says, son, I'm going to need you to stand up. So I got off the bar stool and I stood up. And it felt like the whole room was spinning. And I was like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. I'm in a lot of trouble, man. And man, that's the drunkest I've ever been in my life, man. To be honest with y'all. I blacked out. It's the only time in my life I've ever blacked out. And yeah, I shine. You got it, bro. Southern Comfort is a slow creeper, man. It just kind of creeps up on you, man. We had pictures of beer, shots. I mean, the whole time this Southern Comfort is just slowly creeping up on me. That was a big mistake, guys. I learned a valuable lesson that night. I drink my juice neat for the most part. Philly Fan D said, I was saying it's a good thing. It's smooth. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Philly Fan D. Yeah, it's got good notes on it. Definitely easy one to drink. But some of you guys named a few that I like to drink too. You know, I'm a fan of a couple of them. Maker's Mark is pretty decent. That's a decent one. My dad, I can't think of the one my dad always drinks. I can't even think of it now. It's pretty smooth too. It's a popular one. It's one of these, you know, one of these ones everyone always has. It's pretty smooth. Nothing beats a properly made old fashioned though. Yeah, true, man. Very true, Jeremiah. You're right. We used to. So I don't know if you guys will. You know, we're Philly fans here, so you guys might know this. Have you guys ever been down to Dover Downs to the racetrack? I grew up in that area. You know what I'm saying? I grew up just in Newcastle. So my you know, when I was really young, my dad used to take me, and I really love. I'm a horse guy, man. I love horse betting and horse racing. I don't know that much about it, but I love the whole thing about it, man. It's just something about that. But you know, that whole area, man, like, you know, the old fashions and stuff. We used to like go, you know, we used to go out to like different places, like West Virginia, out by the casinos out there. You know, they got a horse track out there. When I was in the service, we used to go out there and you know, we'd order some old fashions. You know, we're trying to ball on a budget. Aishan said, "Oh my God, Southern Comfort. I haven't had that in decades. Slow creep. Yeah, bro. Yeah, for real, man. Absolutely." Joe, what's good, buddy? Fly Eagles fly. Hey, man. Flying in on 57. Hashtag Hertz train is coming in. I'm excited, Joe. I think that I think this is gonna be a special season. I do. I really do. Philly Fan D said Maker's Mark, my favorite, and price is good. Yeah, it's affordable, right? Same reason I like Four Roses. It's affordable. It's like $32 for, you know, for a decent sized bottle. I mean, this was like, I'm gonna say it was like, I don't know, with tax, guys. I'm in North Carolina, so if you're in Delaware, guys, there's a state tax down here. It was like $39.99. It's not bad. I mean, it's a decent price for. You know, scotch can get real expensive, guys. I mean, there's a bottle of Glenlivet in there. I was about to buy a Glenlivet, but it was like $80. I'm like, yeah, I think my wife would kill me if I came home with an $80 bottle of Glenlivet right now. It's not a special occasion. I bet those were bomb. Yeah, bro, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I miss the days of being in the military and being able to be young and stupid like that, be able to do that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I went to college and everything, guys, and college was fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, you know, nothing like my guys in here that are vets, man. They know what I'm talking about, bro. It's just a different feeling, man. Philly Fan D said, absolutely, my friend. From HS Runs Horses. I miss Cherry Hill, New Jersey track. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Legal Side Hustles? How you doing, man? We were just talking about camp battles. We were talking about you know, everything from safety to, we talked about the linebacking core, to where we talked about how are they going to line this defense? You know, are we actually going to be in a 30 front this year? Like, you know, a lot of the reports coming out of training camp were talking about the Eagles might be a 34 front last year, but then it just seems like Gannon wasn't comfortable with these guys playing that assignment. Yeah, man. I tell you what, Legal Side Hustle, I think that we're in for a special season this year. I really do. Aishan said, I honestly believe Hurts will throw over 4,200 yards this season. You think he's going to break the record? You think he's going to break the Eagles' record? I think it's possible with the 17th game, Aishan. I do think that sometimes when we talk about that, I think people leave out that extra game. And you know, I think in my video, I said anywhere between like 3,800 to 4,200 to me, with a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's what you want. That's where it is, man. What's up, Jeremiah? You in the Army? I was Navy, man. I was stationed at originally I came in at Newport News because we were dry docked. And then I was in Norfolk. I was on the Eisenhower. I spent time at Fort Eustis. We used to call it Fort Useless. Actually, we didn't call it that. Y'all called it Fort Useless, but I was at Fort Eustis for a little while because we were in dry docks. Joe said, Gentleman Jack is pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad. I drink some Elijah Craig stuff like that too, Joe. Elijah Craig's a very acquired taste though, because it's got a kick. The back end of Elijah Craig is pretty rough. NFC East Beast said, the military will teach you how to drink heavily until you don't remember. Shore Patrol, bro. Shore Patrol, man. Legal Side Hustle says he believes they'll mix it up. I agree, Legal Side Hustles. I think they will too. I think you'll see them, depending upon the situation, you know, they might be in a 30 front or they might be in a 40 front, depending on situation. I Shine 101, he says, I'm not as optimistic, but I do hope for that 4,200. I Shine said, yeah, exactly, because of that 17th game. Yeah, the 17th game, I think, is going to skew some statistical things. Oh, my guy, Legal Side Hustle said he was at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. Okay, yeah, you weren't that far from us, man. I think it was at Langley was up there in Hampton, right? Legal Side Hustles. I think we used to go fishing there. I think you guys Used to have like a little dock over there where you could go fishing on Langley. Philly Fan D, I appreciate the $4.99 super chat, buddy. Thank you. He said, "Miss Ray Diddy, remind me of him." Thank you, Philly Fan D. That's a heck of a compliment there. Ray Diddy's one of my favorites, man. He's him and Greg Cosell, few guys, man. I really paid attention to and listened to as I was coming up and learned a lot about football from those guys. Ray Diddy is he's one of the greats, man. He's definitely one of the greats. Oh, the word mark. Jeremiah said, "Got you. How do you feel about that word mark? Stupid, in my opinion. I got to see how it looks on gear. To be honest, Jeremiah. I mean, I think we all were kind of. I think we all liked the old one. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough, man, because our word marks and our logos are so, they're so iconic. All of them are, and it's like, man, when you mess with the Eagles one, like, it feels like it's got to be good if you mess with it at all. Yeah, I went up to that pier a couple times. Legal side hustles. Okay, I Shiny said, "It's not modern in my opinion. I like the old one that went with our Kelly Green jerseys." Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I saw someone that was kind of it was probably one of the major publications, I Shine, where they were putting it up there and they were showing like what it would look like on the Kelly Green, and they were saying that because the Kelly Greens are coming back in 23 for a game or two, that might be why they're changing the watermark. Seems a little drastic in my opinion. I don't think you would change the watermark just because of that, but yeah. One above all said Greg Cosell and Ray Diddy are awesome to listen to. I love Baldy too. He gets so pumped over offensive line. Yeah, Baldy's kind of a weird one, isn't he? One above all because he's more knowledgeable about the game than I really anticipated. Like obviously, every player that plays at the NFL level has knowledge. That's why I love to have these former collegiate players come on the channel and talk with us because I think that they can provide a lot of insight about things. But Baldy's he's a lot better at that than I thought he would be. Like his little breakdowns on Twitter are they're pretty cool to watch, man. Like he definitely brings up some pretty interesting stuff. Aishan said, "I'm not against." I'm sorry, Jeremiah said, "I'm not against change." My bad, guys. I saw it under the logo and it don't match. NFC East B said, "It's not a word mark; it's a skid mark." Joe said, "Hurts is going to be working on getting that bag." Yeah, after this year, he's eligible for that contract extension. So, I mean, they got this year and next year, I think, to really build the core of that Super Bowl roster and get it together. Because then that following year after next year is when that contract would kick in. And that's when it becomes a lot harder to win the Super Bowl. Philly Fan D said he was sad that Ray Diddy retired. Said next life is dedicated to my wife. Been a guy I respected for 30 years. Yeah, Ray Diddy, man, that's a big loss. It kind of shocked me because I didn't think he was going to retire. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. Yeah, Ray Diddy's a guy I respect a lot, Philly Fan D. He's very level-headed about his analysis. Same thing with Greg Cosell. They're just not hot take guys. I don't always agree with everything they say. I mean, I questioned Cosell's analysis earlier, when he was breaking down, mind you, Cosell didn't know the Eagles were going to draft Jordan Davis. But, I talked about that. I'm not saying Cosell was wrong, and I definitely think there are concerns about Jordan Davis's ability to do more than bull rush as a pass rush. But I also felt like it's a difficult thing to judge because he wasn't asked to do a lot, in pass rush situations. And then the role was really to set up the linebackers for the pass rush. So, it's kind of like I don't know that Georgia's defense fully capitalized upon the athletic abilities of Jordan Davis. And, but I respect the crap out of Greg Cosell, man. I think Greg's he's a great football mind. He really is. Greg, Ray Diddy, there's a few of these guys that are just, they're really good at what they do. iShine said they won't change it either. I'm sure they think they know best. Yeah, you're probably right, man. With the skid marks. Jeremiah said, I just won't buy. I would love to think that, man, but you know how it is, Jeremiah. I think I'll eventually cave in and buy something with the watermark on it. Bill Hope, what's good, buddy? He says, which of these young cornerbacks do you think has the best chance of being used at safety? I mean, with Tart being signed, I think our safety depth is pretty good. But if we're talking about a conversion post this season, Bill, safety instincts. Mario Goodrich on film, I think, is a fit outside in Philadelphia as that corner. I do think that there are some Steven Nelson-like abilities to his game, although he's not as big, as physical as Steven Nelson, but the game has similarities to it. I think sorry, guys. That's my phone. I think, sorry, let me turn that off so it doesn't destroy anyone's eardrums. I think he has the ability to diagnose plays. So he's got that ability to drop back and see what's in front of him and get in on the football. So I do think that Mario Goodrich has that ability. Some of these other guys, I'd have to break down more film to see if I think that they could translate. I think there's been some noise about Josh Jobe potentially being able to do that, but I think Jobe wants to play outside. I don't know how willing he would be to move, but, you know, the path forward to this roster isn't the greatest. So, you know, if he wants to stick around, it might be something he has to do. Shining Star said, what's up, Gate City? 80 days to go. Yeah, man. Excited, bro. Excited. Joe said, I like that they're trying to make the old and the new together. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one way of looking at it, Joe, that they're trying to blend it together. iShine said, yup, I always love Ray Diddy and Seth Joyner opinions after games. They truly speak for the people. Yeah, they definitely don't hold their tongue, do they, iShine? And then Philly Fan D seconded your motion there and said, 100%, man. You were diehard, bro. Yeah, I hear you. All right, guys. It's about an hour and almost 18 minutes, guys. I'm about to jump off of here. I appreciate you guys. I don't know, guys. I'll either make a video tomorrow or we'll do another live stream. We'll do one or the other, guys. We'll either do a video or a live stream. I have been breaking down corners. I did my first breakdown and included Zach McPherson. I'm not going to do the big three guys. Avonte Maddox, James Bradbury, Darius Slayer, clearly the starters going into camp. I mean, anything is possible. Those are the guys I view as being the clear-cut starters. But I'm going to do Tay Gowan next. So I will be breaking down Tay Gowan at some point, guys. I'll be going over the advanced analytics, a little bit of what I saw from the film, and I'll talk about what I think is going to happen with Tay Gowan going forward. And guys, when I do these breakdowns, they're not, they're objective, guys. It's going to be some positive things I'm going to bring up. I'm going to critique. There's going to be some critique in that one. Jeremiah said, I still can't root for the whole gear. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all so much, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow.